I'm going to turn this over to our State Insurance Commissioner, Vicki Schmidt. Let's give her a warm Pachyderm welcome.
Well, hello, Wichita. It is so good to be here. I actually have been in this room before because some of my high school reunions have been up here, so I appreciate that. Well, when Carl asked me to speak today at this luncheon, I knew it was going to be a little bit of a tight turnaround because for those of you that may be from around the McPherson area, today is the McPherson All-School Day Parade. And I go to it every year. I get invited to go to it every year. We always run out of candy by the time we end there, and so it was kind of a quick turnaround. Changing clothes, and I won't talk to you about how fast Kyle drove me here, but Kyle Strothman is here with me today. He's the Deputy Chief of Staff, and appreciate him getting me here. So I really appreciate the opportunity to be back here in Wichita. This is my hometown. I grew up on the south side of Wichita, right around 31st and Seneca, about a block and a half from South High School. I grew up in a blue-collar family. My dad was a telephone repairman, and my mom actually had a beauty shop in our home. That was a thing back then, and so that's where I grew up. I graduated from Wichita South High School, and as did my husband Mike, and he grew up a block and a half away from me. Our parents instilled countless values in us when we were growing up, and I think that both from our faith and certainly from our work ethic. So while still in high school, I took a summer job at a local pharmacy delivering prescriptions. It was a 1963 VW Bug. This was like the 1970s. 1963 VW Bug with bald tires, and on snowy days, that was really exciting. And we had snow back then when I was doing this. But I learned the streets of Wichita rather well, and which ones were one way and which way they went. So that experience left, and I worked there after the summer job and continued to work a little bit through high school. That job left a huge impact on me. I knew that I wanted to choose a profession where I could help people, and that's why I chose pharmacy. It fit right into that. Pharmacy really it instilled in me how you could help people with their medications and things, and I worked for some great pharmacists back in the day. If you would have told me that as a younger person or as a person in high school that I would be here speaking to you today at the Petroleum Club, I probably would have laughed at you because that just wasn't anything I even dreamed of. But like for the rest of you, life happens. And my husband and I both went on to KU, the University of Kansas, and that's where I pursued my pharmacy degree. That's the only school Wichita State has a satellite program now, but at the time, KU was the only place to get your degree. And yes, you did hear me correctly. My husband, we got married when we were 18 and 19. I want to make it clear that I was the younger one. Last August, we celebrated our 50th anniversary, 50 years of marriage, and oh, thanks. I'll tell him you applauded for him because he is a saint. But 2 boys and 4 grandchildren later, I am so blessed, and I am not afraid to admit that I like my grandchildren much more than I like my children. I like being insurance commissioner, but my favorite title is still grandma. It's the best title I've ever had. I tell you all of this because I think that everyone's journey into public service is different. And everyone in this room remembers the first time that they were asked to get involved, or they were encouraged to take a step up, or maybe they were even voluntold that they were going to do something. And for me, that revelation came in the 1990s. In about 1996, I was busy working as a pharmacist, raising kids, doing the things that people do, and I was contacted by then Governor Bill Graves to serve on the Board of Pharmacy. My profession had already given me so much that it was just an honor to be able to give something back to my profession, and I was very passionate about serving there. I served on the board and was the only one that, at the time there were 6 people on the board. I was the one that lived in Topeka. And so I kind of drew the short straw, if you will, about going to the legislature. Governor Graves had asked that everyone go through their laws and get rid of ones that were redundant or that we didn't need, and to kind of shore everything up. And so we had some business to do with the legislature. So the executive director and I, he chose me, voluntold me, that I'd be going to the legislature with him to work on our law changes. That was my first experience really with the legislature in any type of capacity like that. So I was really excited about, no I wasn't, I was scared to death to go to the legislature. But I knew we needed to do it, and it was at a 1:30 committee meeting, the House Health Committee, right after lunch. After lunch is never a good time to speak, especially at like 1:30 or 2. So I had practiced in front of the mirror. I'd made my husband listen to me. My children probably put headphones on, I don't know, but I had practiced a long time and went before the House committee, and I looked up and 2 legislators had fallen asleep. I could hardly control myself. I was so, I was disappointed, I was hurt, and I was just like, they should listen to what I have to say because this is important stuff to my profession. And, you know, and you're supposed to be there making the laws, and if you're falling asleep on me, that's not a very good sign. So I went home, and I don't know about you guys, but I think everybody has a comfort food, and for me, it's spaghetti. My mom made the best spaghetti meat sauce, and so when my husband hits the back door and spaghetti is cooking, he knows something bad has happened. And he comes up and says, well, how'd it go? And I tell him the story. And I said, you know, if there is ever an opening in the legislature, I'm going to run for it. And he did like most spouses probably would do. And he agreed and nodded his head and said, is dinner about ready? And yes. And so we ate dinner, and nobody thought anything about it until a couple of years later there was an opening in the Senate, and it was a wide open seat. Nobody said you have to you run in the House and then you move to the Senate. I didn't know that. I just ran for the Senate. I ran against 3 gentlemen, and I don't know whether I ran out of motivation or spite, but it worked out. And as they say, the rest of the story is history. I served in the Kansas Senate for 14 years, representing both Shawnee and Wabaunsee counties before I moved over and ran for this position, Insurance Commissioner, in 2018. I have been so honored that the voters sent me back for a second term in this office. It's a great place to work. I will admit that the first time I ran for office, I had no idea what I was doing. Somebody told me, you just go out and knock on doors and you just talk to people. And I think I've never really stopped since that moment. Some of the most meaningful conversations I've ever had with people are out on their porch step when it's 100 degrees, because every campaign season it is over 100 degrees. And you know, I know people talk about it's important to meet people where they are. Well, I don't think it gets any more real than being on their doorstep. I have a couple of quick stories I want to tell you about campaigning, because if you think it's really glamorous, I want to just demonstrate to you how glamorous it can be. I walked up a driveway, a guy was mowing his yard, and I didn't want to interrupt him because I know how people are when they're interrupted mowing their lawn, but I just was going to give him my palm card, and he, you know, idled the mower down, and I said, I'm going to be quick, you know, you can, you know, look at my palm card, and if you have any questions, you can call me. He goes, how bad do you want my vote? And I said, well, I would love your vote. And he said, why don't you mow a little bit for me? I said, perfect. I did. I took the handles of that, and and you know, I just kept thinking, oh my gosh, when I was a teenager and we didn't have a motorized motor, you know, we had the little thing that went around, and my dad would make us mow it both ways because he goes, you girls miss too much. But anyway, I just kept thinking, don't miss anything. Well, anyway, I mowed up and back, and he said, okay, you have my vote. And I go, okay, I'm going to move on now. that was good. The other one's kind of a story. I knocked on a door, and a young father came to the door with his baby, and the baby was crying and carrying on. And he goes, my wife has gone to the store, and I said, oh, that's okay. I won't. I'll just leave my palm card and I'll go. And he goes, do you know how to change a diaper? And I said, yes, I know how to change a diaper. Let's just say it was a full diaper, and he owes me. He better be voting for me if I run for dog catcher. But anyway, but I did enjoy going door to door and meeting people. But moving to from the state senate to this office was a statewide office, and so it was a lot different campaigning. My husband and I drove over 17,000 miles in the summer before the primary, and it was kind of good. I like to tell people we got along just fine, and we stayed married. We got along just fine. His story is, I put the tunes on and put earphones in, and I let you just do whatever you were doing. So I don't know, but anyway, it worked out. I'm sure that I had certain expectations about the role of the insurance commissioner, and I'll admit though that I had no clue. The first couple of months in office, I wasn't even sure that I was the best fit for the job. It was like buying a house and knowing that you're going to replace the flooring and you're going to maybe paint some walls, and instead you get in there and you need an all-new kitchen, and the wiring is gone, and you need to rewire it. You need to get the house. So I think we were pretty focused. I know we were real focused that first year on the administrative side, just getting the house in order. And but I will tell you that we are in a fantastic place right now, and I'm really pleased with the team and how we've developed that. Ever since that day in front of the legislature, I've been focused on making government more leaner, more efficient, and also accountable to you, the Kansans. And I would like to share today some of the things that I've done since taking office as insurance commissioner. Efficiency's always been a top priority of mine, and I want to make Kansas a great place to do business so that people really want to come here and lay some roots down. It started with cutting fees and creating efficiency in the department. One of the first major legislative efforts that we undertook was an overhauling of the producer licensing system. We worked very hard on what is known as Senate Bill 37, and we actually transferred the licensing process of insurance agents and agencies to a National Insurance Producer Registry, or also known as NIPR. Are there any insurance agents in the audience today? Okay, well, so I think you have been pretty pleased with going to NIPR. They could always do their licenses, renew them for other states, but at Kansas we had a separate system that was pretty clunky, expensive, and just not like it is now. Now it's fast, it's uniform. They go onto this website, they know what to do because they're doing it for the other states they're licensed in, and we've really modernized what it is to license. And it was cheaper. So that's always a good thing. As the legislation was being considered, we always have to do a fiscal note. Sometimes I don't like fiscal notes too much, but they're a lot of pain to develop. But we estimated that the department would lose $5.2 million that first year that we transferred everything to NIPR. And that money would be industry, it's over a 2-year period, it would be industry saving money, and it would also lower the cost of our agents doing business and agencies. We actually met that goal and exceeded it. It turned out to be about $5.4 million to producers, which has reduced the cost of doing business by $21.5 million. And so that we're excited about that. You're going to hear a theme from me today, I hope, and that is about reducing revenues and also continuing on the licensure front. We have a LifeScan fingerprint machine now. You used to have to take your fingerprints, put them on it. You had to go to the sheriff or someplace that would do your fingerprints, and you have to put them on a paper cardboard paper thing, and then you had to mail them into us. Well, I don't know, the mail isn't always that great, and that wasn't a good thing to depend on that. And then when we would mail them to the, we would hand deliver them to the KBI. But now you do the live scan, they go right to the KBI. We have over 20 locations in Kansas that'll now do it. All new insurance producers have to have their fingerprints taken. So it's really a great way to get that done. We also have offered free continuing education. Last year we offered over 2,100 hours of free continuing education that we have put on. We've sought flexibility in our statutes to lower the fees that we charge. We do what we call an up-to bill. We didn't change the ceiling of the bill, but it gave us the authority to charge less if we could. And we decreased our agent and agency licensing fees, and that's created a $1.2 million savings to our agents and our agencies. And it's important. If you want to get licensed as a professional, like an agent, we don't want financial things to be a barrier to you. We did have to have, like I said, that legislative fix. But then we thought, why are we stopping with licensure? Because we can do some other things in our department cheaper and with more efficiency. So this year we went back to the legislature and we successfully amended another part of the law that gives us flexibility in about 100 different areas across the department. So we're in the process now, we're going one by one through those, and we're seeing how low we can go. Sounds like I'm a limbo person. How low can you go? That's what we're going to try to find out on those fees. I want to take a moment to say thank you to the legislature. Are there any legislators here? Okay, well, if you see one of them, please thank them for me, because we couldn't have made the changes without them. And I feel like we have a good partnership with the legislature. We work well with them, and they've certainly played an important role in reshaping the department. But it's not all about licensing fees. And thank you to the legislature for helping us with all those things. But we also have some unnecessary, we had some unnecessary revenues that we were able to cut that were coming into the department. Last year we passed House Bill 2093. It was allowed us to eliminate certain group funded pool assessments, and we returned about $150,000 of unused money back to the pools. We've had a really healthy balance, and I think we have carefully managed our workers' compensation fund. So every year since 2022, we have reduced the fees, which has resulted in a $5.4 million savings. That money stays in the pockets of businesses, and I sincerely hope helps them lower the cost for consumers. After a lot of meetings and discussions, we overhauled the Kansas Automobile Insurance Plan. And we moved the operation to APSO. APSO is a third-party service provider which takes care of the insurance of last resorts for people. And just in doing and switching over to APSO, we're saving over $300,000 annually. We were able to sell the building. We sold some equipment, and it's been a good thing, and it's been a much more efficient way to do business. So that experience, one thing always leads to another, it seems. That experience led us to pursue another policy change. I appoint to several boards that oversee various things like the automobile insurance plan and the healthcare provider insurance availability plan. And if you haven't guessed it already, you quickly find out that I want people serving when we put them on those roles. I want them to be there. I want them to be there for the meetings. I want them to be active in it. And I want them to be engaged in what they're doing. So this year we passed a bill that adds some accountability to those boards. We reduced the number of board members on some of those boards, but we also allowed them to be removed if they don't do their job. So if you have somebody that you appoint to a 3-year term on a board and they never show up at a board meeting after a year or year and a half, that's not a good pick, and you need to move on. And now I have that authority to thank them for their service and to move on. I think accountability matters when it comes to tax dollars. This year, we did 2 more bills that eliminate fees and lowers the premium tax rate. We estimate this will be a further cut of $7 million. It's not all on the insurance side of the house. In 2017, the Office of the Securities Commissioner came underneath the Department of Insurance. So we also register those in the securities industry. How about securities industry? Anyway, yeah, some of my same hands go up. So yeah, we signed 2 of your documents. But really appreciate you helping people secure their financial futures and also help them to avoid fraudulent schemes and things that we're going to talk a little bit about. For fiscal year 22 and 23, we actually put a moratorium on all the security fees, and so that was a total of $32 million in savings to the industry. These gentlemen didn't have to pay any fees for renewal for 2 years. Then we came back with those fees in 24 and 25, in fiscal year 24 and 25, and we cut the fees in half because it was important to me to match what you're getting with what you're paying. And so that's what we did. I would say, and that's about a $48 million and counting in fees for those agents alone. Tune in, stay tuned for the announcement about the fiscal year 26, which starts July 1st of 2025. I think you'll be pleased with the next announcement coming. So, when you add all that up with some of the other efficiencies we found, so you know how you get snail mail, right? Who knew that there were things called email for people? I mean, people in my department we had them, we just didn't use them. So we saved $25,000 right off the bat by starting to email people, and it's required by law that you have to have a valid email with us. So we saved $25,000 just on postage and then wasteful letters, probably on paper costs. We cut certain assessment of charges, and one of my personal favorites, you all look too young to remember this, but anybody remember an AS400? It's like the black screen that had the green pixel computer stuff on it when computers first came out. Well, we still had one of those in the office. That was, I have a running joke with Secretary of State Scott Schwab because we both had AS400s and we were comparing notes one day, and I was bound and determined to get rid of mine before him, and I did. And I'm not competitive or anything. But he says he's trying to give his to the History Museum. So I hope he's successful. With all of that, we've reduced the cost of doing business in Kansas by over $76 million. And thank you. Thank you. I know there's a lot of talk about efficiencies, but I think that I've been doing this before it was cool. It was before the legislature developed some committees to do that, and before the federal government had some agencies dedicated to do it. As I said before, I want to make Kansas a great place to do business, and we need to do it efficiently and as cost effective as we can. We need to try to get rid of some of the red tape, and we need to prioritize servicing Kansans. I think that we as a state have come a long way in cutting costs and spending, but I think we have a long way to go in the state with cutting costs and looking at efficiencies. But I think that in the department we've done our part, at least in our little part of the world, to do that. I want to talk a little bit about education, educating. Not education in general, educating the public. And that's another core mission of the Department of Insurance. We've expanded our reach. We have educated consumers, industry professionals, law enforcement, and Kansas students. We've participated in 18 outreach efforts across the state, different events across the state. My favorite, the State Fair. We also were asked by State Treasurer Stephen Johnson he asked me to moderate a panel on women and money, and it was an event where we talked about how you manage and you protect your investments all through your stages of life. The department also presented a combination in combination with the KBI and Congressman Derek Schmidt at the Combating Fraud Seminar. It was sponsored by the Kansas Bankers Association and the Kansas State Bank of Ottawa. There were hundreds of people that attended that event, and our staff, we hope we taught them how to protect themselves from fraud and financial scammers. Speaking of fraud, Anyone here heard of the pig butchering scheme? Ooh, I'm glad to know that. How about past posting or bash and buy? You guys are going to be really big hits at the next cocktail party. You're going to be able to talk about these things. Both of these refer to the two of the biggest scams that we see at the Department of Insurance. One's on the security side and one is on the insurance side. Pig butchering is a type of investment fraud. It's called some other things, but that's the one that's probably the most famous name for it. It's perpetuated by organized crime, usually in foreign countries. The scheme is designed to get the victim's trust in a little way and to have them make a small investment, and then they provide some fake payouts back to you. And then they continue to gain your trust, and they continue the conversations via text or however, on your phone, however it is. And then they do the slaughter, where they have one final scam for you. They take a huge amount of money, and then they disappear, and we can never find them. My dad always used to say, if it sounds too good to be true, it is too good to be true. And that's still the way it is in the world we live in. I think one of the horrible things about the pig butchering type scheme is that people are so embarrassed that they fell for it that they don't want to call us and talk to us about it. And many of the times it's a son or a daughter that calls us and said, can you help? If you lose your investment in a financial, if you use investment in a fraudulent financial scheme, you have less than 7% chance of getting that investment back. That isn't very good odds. We have had some bigger successes in that, but that's a nationwide average. Okay, past posting or bash and buy, as I like to call it, is a form of insurance fraud. So someone rear-ends you in your car and they don't have insurance, so you're busy calling the police and they're busy buying insurance on their phone. And that's a fraudulent act. Both of these schemes are fraudulent. They've bought the insurance after the accident has occurred. Cell phones have been miraculous at helping us track down those events because everything's time-stamped, and so we can do that. But both of these schemes affect Kansans in a different way. The department does investigate both insurance and securities fraud in Kansas. Most people don't think of us as a law enforcement agency. I bet none of you do. But we do have law enforcement officials working for us. They investigate these crimes, and we send them over. I like to say we package them up in a silver bow, and we send them over to our partners at the Attorney General's office to prosecute for us. Are there any law enforcement people here? Or retired law enforcement? Great. Thank you for protecting us. Thank you for your service. All right. I think people tend to think that some of these crimes are white-collar crimes and that they may be minor or less important than other crimes. But I can tell you from my background of growing up in a blue-collar household, if my parents had lost their life savings to an investment scam, it would have devastated them and my entire family. Investment fraud is on the rise. These are statistics that I hate to give you, but they are the truth. According to the FBI, Americans lost $6.5 billion with a B in investment fraud just in last year in 2024. That's a lot of money to lose in investment fraud. They reported that the internet scams are up 33% from 2023. So in 1 year's time, it raised 33%. By the time the department receives a complaint, the fraud has usually already occurred. The investment, like I said, is almost near impossible to recover. So I want you to exercise caution, no matter your age, exercise caution when you're choosing an investment, and work with people like these people that are registered with us and in the securities field and can guide you. Ultimately, I don't want those investments to go in the pockets of criminals. I want them to stay in the pockets of Kansans. Criminals, unfortunately, usually target older adults because they have large sums of liquid assets, and due to their retirement accounts mainly. Today, Americans aged 70 and older hold more than 30% of the wealth of America. So, yeah, that's only one person over 70, right? Just kidding. You don't look a day over 60. Okay, well, so in an instant, people can lose what they've saved up for a lifetime, and it's horrific, and it happens far too often. Insurance fraud isn't a victimless crime either. The FBI estimates on this one that each American family, so think about your own family, you pay between $400 and $700 a year more for your premiums because of insurance fraud. And that isn't a very good one either. Okay, have any of you been hit by an uninsured motorist? Oh yeah, I always see hands here. Or I'm sure some of you, if you haven't had that experience, you're lucky. But the other thing is you probably know somebody that has had that type of experience. So this year, the department asked our companies that write auto insurance right here in Kansas, we asked them, what are you paying in claims related to uninsured motorists in Kansas? And we asked them for a 2-year period of time. Anybody want to guess what they told us that in Kansas only that the insurance company paid out for uninsured motorists? $51 million. $51 million. So driving without insurance, it's against the law. And I think as a law-abiding citizen, you shouldn't be paying for that. So the Insurance Information Institute estimated that approximately 8% of the drivers in Kansas were uninsured. I personally believe it's a little more than that, but 8% is bad enough, so we'll just stick with that. It's not as bad as some of the other states, but it is still way too high. So driving without insurance is against the law, plain and simple, and so I don't believe that you should have to foot the bill for someone else. That's why this year the department introduced Senate Bill 42, and we refer to it as our real-time auto insurance verification bill. The current system is slow, it's so outdated, and frankly, it's just not useful in tracking down uninsured drivers and people that just choose not to keep their insurance active. So we proposed a new law this year to give the department the authority to set up a real-time insurance verification system. We want to reduce the number of uninsured motorists in Kansas, and we want to stop fraud right at the scene of the accident. So in the case of somebody doing a bash and buy and ordering insurance on their phone, it won't ping that they had insurance. It won't ping that. So it's a big system. We're working on the RFP right now, but the Department of Revenue, the Kansas courts, and law enforcement will be able to access this system. Law enforcement is very excited about it in order to verify if someone has insurance. They did not. The legislature helped us pass this bill, and I'm very glad about that. But just so you know, they didn't mark out the part that says you still have to carry your insurance card. So hopefully we'll progress to that soon. The bottom line is that we're going to join 20 other states that do this and that have modernized their auto insurance verification system. We're going to reduce our uninsured rate. Most states have reduced it by at least 50%. We're going to give law enforcement some better tools, especially when they're stopping someone and to stop insurance fraud. And we're going to modernize the process all at the same time. Best of all, best news at all, there's no state general fund money involved in this. The Department of Insurance is going to fully fund the implementation of the system from our own budget. And I'm really excited that we're going to be able to do that. Okay. I know they're the Pachyderm Club elephants in this room. Let me address another elephant in the room, the cost of insurance. So I know that everything has gone up. Insurance, unfortunately, is no exception. Recently, we've had a lot of questions about, are my insurance in Kansas, are my property and casualty, my house insurance rates going to go up because of the California wildfires? The answer to that is not directly. Kansas insurance rates are based on the risk right here in Kansas. So they are not and cannot be calculated based on the things that have occurred in other states like California or Florida or any other state. We do, though, have our own share of catastrophic events, weather events right here in Kansas, like tornadoes and convective storms. Last year in Kansas, 2024, we just got this data back, I think about maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago. In Kansas, in 2024, storm claims paid by insurance companies totaled $612 million. And those numbers increase every year, unfortunately. So in addition to the direct claims that your insurance company is paying, if you have a policy and all that, you have to consider the cost of inflation, the reinsurance market, and technology advancements and litigation costs. So all of those things go into your insurance rate. The department does not set the rates for companies. We can disapprove them if they are not within the guidelines or the laws of the state of Kansas, and we check that very carefully. We have people that read 1,400 pages a day of nothing but policies. I think Kansas has a very competitive market right now. I think part of that reason is because we have not chosen to overregulate our insurance market. States that overregulate, like California has done that, inevitably end up with a market that it gets distorted, and it's just and it's so restricted that the insurance companies just throw up their hands and they just pack up and leave the state. And I want to have a good selection of companies for you to shop with. I've tried to control the weather. I can't. I wish I could. It would make my hair a lot better. But I try to focus on the things that I can by reducing the compliance costs for the companies and giving Kansans more tools to help them with the rising cost of insurance. This year, we did introduce an insurance savings account bill that would have allowed Kansans a state tax-free way to save for property and casualty premium and deductible accounts. It would have been the first kind. It would have been, I know I'm past it. It would have been the first of the kind in the nation. Other states have savings accounts, but they're used for disaster and disaster savings account, and this one would have been a lot more flexible. We didn't get there with the bill this year. We tried and we didn't get there, but we still think it's a good idea, and it will be a part of our agenda for next year. So I want to spend just a tad of time talking about consumer assistance. Ultimately, our efforts in fighting fraud, cutting waste, reducing our spending, and regulating fairly are all to make the best possible market for Kansans. But sometimes, unfortunately, that really isn't enough. Sometimes we need some other tools to help make companies play fair, and we need to, and that's where our Consumer Assistance Division comes into play. I see that camera up there, so I know I'm being recorded, so I cannot say that they are my most favorite division in the department. But I really, 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 really like the work they do, and I enjoy working with them in the Consumer Assistance Division. It is very fulfilling to do that. I tell everyone that that I think the Consumer Assistance Division is the best kept secret in the state of Kansas. I'm desperately trying to not have that happen and to talk to people like you and to let you know what kind of services we could provide to you. Whatever that issue may be. Sometimes it's just a question. I mean, we take questions, we take complaints, we run the gamut. And guess what? We have real live people that are still answering our phones. Yes, I know, it's so exciting. I think that's a rarity among government agencies because I can't get anybody at some of the agencies that I try to call, but I won't mention them. But for me, it's just good customer service, and it's what you deserve when you call us. Because if you're calling us about an insurance issue, usually it's not your best day. There's usually something that's gone wrong, so we try to do that. If it's a dispute between the policyholder and the insurance company, regardless of the type of insurance, we go ahead and investigate that complaint. We work with the company and we work with the customer to ensure that the rules of that the policy agreement is there and that the insurance company is playing fair, and we do the benefits according to that. I am really impressed with how much we are able to recover. I'll say, I always tell them, well, it wasn't enough, but I'll tell you, in 2019, when I took office, we recovered $2 million for Kansans. Last year, in 2024, in that year, we recovered $11.5 million. And I know, right? And then, in addition to that, we have the Consumer Assistance Division assists Kansans with the NAIC's Insurance Policy Locator. So after my first year in office, we recovered $2.5 million, and last year we recovered $25 million. So that's a big deal for if you've lost a loved one and can't find a life insurance policy. We can help you do that. Year after year, we have helped put more money into the pockets of Kansans than we have spent. So our total for both our consumer complaints and the life insurance locator since 2019 is $146 million. I think that's a really good track record, and I'm so proud of it. And I think we are worth the call if you want to call us about one of your problems, or one of your problems. My staff often jokes that I spend too much of my free time maybe trolling media, Instagram, Facebook, whatever, but people post everything on there. And, and sometimes they're posting about an insurance issue, and I'm going like, well, we need to figure out who that is, and we need to go help them. So one Saturday night, I was trolling through, and a lady was posting that she needed to do a GoFundMe account for her daughter that needed a cochlear implant. And I thought, that's strange, because cochlear implants, I've never heard of them not being covered. So I looked for some of my friends, see if I can find anybody that I know, an acquaintance that had commented on it. And sure enough, I found one. My husband said that wouldn't be wise to call them at 11:30 at night on Saturday. And I agreed. And so Monday morning, I went to the office and called, and we got to talk to the mom, and the mom said, well, the problem is it's been denied 3 times, and that they will cover 2 cochlear implants, but not just 1, and my daughter only needs 1. And I said, oh, I'm going to take this one. So I got on the phone and worked my way up. It took a little while to work my way up. I told him I was the governor of insurance, because they didn't know what the insurance commissioner did. And so it got me right up to the top. And let's just say he was startled and stunned that they didn't cover 1 cochlear implant. So within 2 hours, we got that covered. And I know, exactly. She is just delightful. She's doing well in school, and it's just been great. So they don't always end up that happily, but I think I might be the only elected official to ever stand before you and say, give me your complaints. We want your complaints. We want to help you work through these. I'm a firm believer that, and I was when I was in the Senate, that everybody deserves an answer. We may not get the answer that either one of us want, but we're going to get you an answer, and then hopefully you can put that to rest, good, bad, or indifferent. If we're not the right agency for you to call, we're going to get you to the right agency, and we'll work with you to do that. We're going to continue recovering these dollars for hardworking Kansans, and again, we're going to try to make Kansas a better place to do business. Today, I brought some palm cards, and Kyle has them maybe somewhere. And they're about how to file a complaint, how to utilize our life insurance policy locator, and how to identify and report investment fraud. Before I wrap up today, quickly, I want to tell you about, I'm headed to DC next week to visit our congressional delegation. I want to tell you what we're going to talk to them about. One is state-based regulation. Insurance is state-based, and we want to continue making it state-based. You can get a hold of me a lot easier than you get a hold of anybody at the feds, and we want to maintain that authority here. And that's not a bash on our congressmen, but they have limitations also. Medicare Advantage, you probably can't watch TV without seeing an ad for a Medicare Advantage plan. We do not have any authority over Medicare Advantage. It is all regulated through the feds. We'd like to get that authority back. We regulate MedSup, but we don't regulate that. I would just say that, remember when Joe Namath and William Shatner are talking to you, they're selling you something rather than finding out what really fits your needs. So we did do a resolution last year, and we got it through the House, and we hope to get it through the Senate and get it to Congress next year. And last but not least is the Federal Insurance Office. Again, DOJ asked for recommendations, and so several of my fellow commissioners and I recommended that they eliminate that office. It's regulated at the state, and I don't see a use for, it's just redundant and wasteful. So I'm looking forward to visiting with them. I hope that you've learned a little bit from me today, a little bit about me and a little bit about what the insurance does. I hope you come away with the thought that if you ever have an insurance or securities issue, we're here to help you. Don't make me find you on Facebook, because I will give you a call. I want to tell you that it's just been an honor to be in a position to help Kansans. It's why I became a pharmacist. It's why I got into public service, and I truly feel very blessed that I've had this opportunity to be in this be in this office. One last thing as a PSA, as many of you know, in 2023 I was diagnosed with breast cancer in a routine mammogram. I believe early detection saves lives. I know it saved mine, and I tell everyone that I am the Bob Barker of mammograms, and my younger staff are always like, who is that? So then we have to go back and watch The Price is Right. But anyway, I really want you to remember to get your mammograms and schedule those things once a year. So thank you for the invitation. And oh, if they're easy.
One question and a statement. Do illegal aliens have insurance, car insurance?
There are some companies do allow them to write car insurance, yes.
By the way, I did have State Farm decline a hail damage on my roof, and I did a complaint with the insurance department, and they came back and did a $30,000 roof. So very good.
They don't like the insurance companies don't really like to get what I call a red file from us, and so sometimes it moves them.
Hello, Vicki.
Hi, Virginia.
Mine is more of a thank you to you and your department. My sister's insurance was a communication mess up, and it was about to cost her $68,000. And a credit company was after her, and she had no idea. I called your office, and she was straightened out in less than 30 days, and her health insurance was reinstated. And I really thank you for your help.
It was a pleasure to help your sister. She's a lot like you. She was a lot of fun.
Ma'am, is there any way that you can bring down the insurance premium for elderly people, people above 65?
I'm sorry, I didn't understand the question. I didn't understand the question.
Premiums for people over 65.
Do we do premiums?
Could you decrease them?
Oh, decrease premiums for over. Oh, I would love to. Like on your Medicare supplement. Yeah. You know, if you can stop the growth of inflation in that medical place, that is about like me trying to control the weather. But yes, I would love to do that, sir.
Thanks for coming. Appreciate what you do.
Sure.
I was a retired police lieutenant disabled from the city of Wichita, and I want to let everybody know when I used to work accidents, when I was a patrol officer, we'd ask drivers, do you have insurance? And for those that didn't, and they openly admitted, no, I don't have insurance, we would write as a city ordinance, knowingly no insurance, which then would suspend their license. I don't know if that's still in play, if that's a state statute or maybe a city ordinance in Wichita. I'm not the guy to ask, but I thought I'd bring it to everybody's attention. And then second of all, on a personal note, April 17th, I got into an ATV accident.
Oh.
At a friend of mine's ranch. My accelerator stuck on my ATV, I went through a 4-deal fence, got thrown, was in the hospital for 2 days. UMR sent me a letter saying they will not cover any of my injuries.
Yeah, I need to see that letter.
Do I need to start the complaint now, or before the hospital sends me the bill that I got to pay out of pocket?
Yeah, we'll have Kyle give you our information on how to start the complaint process, and we will start on that now. We do have to allow them a certain amount of days to respond to us, and so it's better to get it started. Yes, of course.
I'm Debbie Potter. I just want to thank you for being here. I've really enjoyed you. First, I have also found people on Facebook who have been trying to help us, State Board of Education, so, just reminding me that.
Yes.
That our, annual rates on our insurance have more than doubled on all of our rental properties this year. And so we're on the third one trying to get it lowered, but it went from 2,200 per year to it's now 4,900 per year. And so I just didn't know, what do you do with that, other than we're trying to find alternatives?
Well, we recommend that people do an insurance checkup once a year, even if you're happy with your rates, make sure you visit with your agent so you know what you have and they know what you have and you know what the expectations are. Sometimes there are some riders on there that maybe you don't need anymore, that you don't want anymore. You know, and it never hurts, especially with jumps like that, to shop around and to, you know, which is what you're doing.
I just didn't
But
know why it
we,
did that.
because of that $612 million in claims that companies had to pay, and you know that was a lot of storm damage this year. But I do think it doesn't hurt to look around. Yes.
Are pharmacy benefit companies, managers, are they governed by your office?
No, they are not. And do I wish I did? Yes.
Well, it's been in the media. We've all heard the stories about closures. What do you suggest could be done?
Well, I think it could be a multi-pronged effect. Many states are now regulating PBMs, especially on transparency and on costs and on practices of paying their own pharmacies more than they pay the independent down the street or the other chain down the street. I know the Congress is looking at this also, but I think that it is bubbling up so big now that we will have to do something about it. And I'd encourage you to talk to your legislators about. They've had some bills before them that they haven't had hearings on and haven't moved them along. And I think it's high time we do that.
All right, thank you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much.